Hello and welcome to this first live cast from UpKeeper. Today we're going to talk about the UpKeeper service operating system, which will be great. The agenda for today is like this. We're going to talk about the create and maintaining of the service operating system. We're going to talk about configuration and settings and how to use, how to troubleshoot, and at the end we will have a Q&A for you where you can ask questions and we will answer. So if you have any questions during this live session, write them in the chat and we will take them at the last part of this session. But I won't do this on my own. Joining me is Roger for this session. He will do the technical stuff. Welcome, Roger.
Thank
you. Great to have you here. Great to do this first live cast. So we will talk about the UpKeeper service operating system. It's actually the foundation of UpKeeper, I must say. It's the first component to be developed. Did you know that, Roger?
No,
No?
that was new.
Yeah. Something new.
Yeah.
Even for you?
Not often, but that was new for me.
That's great. So it was the first, the database was developed later on. So with that said, we will jump into the section and start talking about creating and maintaining. So how do we go along with creating the operating system?
Yes, of course. The first thing, okay, to build UpKeeper Service OS, we need the new version of ADK. And we still have lots of customers who are using UpKeeper SUS that is building Windows 8 or 8.1. To start from scratch, to build a new UpKeeper Service OS, the first thing I doing through that, just to find, right, is in the right corner, you have help. And if you here, enter, you will find a link. Open the web page and you will find a guide how to build it and what you need to build it. There are earlier it just was only one setup you needed to download. Now we have split it, so we are one for ADK and one for Windows PE. You have the link here, so you can go straight to that side and just download these two parts. After you have downloaded, start to install the ADK setup. Deployment tools is what you need. I will add configuration design for here. You have some example what settings, what component you can add to Windows setup. That can be good to have. Necessary. And the second part is to install ADK Win PE setup. And just
do they take a long time to install?
Depending on the network.
Okay.
There are some gigabytes that will be downloaded, so it can take a little while. But wait.
Yes, time to wait. Great. Yeah.
Install it on the machine you want to use. Later that you need some files to build and download that. You have a link here. Download update SUS. That's zip. Just download it and unpack it in this folder if you want to use those things that are later. After that, there are some configuration. Remember, if you will do it in later this year, you probably will have a new UpKeeper services file, so you need to update those.
Yeah.
And you will find it on the UpKeeper FTP. And if you don't have access to it, then ask your reseller.
Okay.
For that. We have some configuration we need to do. I will go through that a little later. We have some drivers where we should add it. And you have some links here where you can download those drivers that's necessary for you to make it to work. you will need to update this. If you buy a new machine and don't get network support, go here and find a link and download the latest drivers. And these drivers are meant for WinPE. It's not for Windows 10.
Yeah, great. And normally you have this installed on your admin machine or your server, or
server you can install or admin machine. Can be good if you install it on a machine that other technical guys can access, so they can rebuild it. So you use the same source every time.
Yeah,
it can be good.
Perfect.
Yeah. One known issue: if when you download files from internet, the files can be locked. Remember to unlock the files and make sure, else it will be a little dark. Remember that. You can add, if you want to add the upkeeper service that you are building, add it to the Windows deployment service. You have how to. So we have downloaded. I have done some operation. So here is the structure where we have. So we have our drivers folder where we will download. Make sure you not add all the drivers in the same folder. At least add it so you add a different manufacturer. And for example, disk, and you have the drivers. This is Dell. Looks like this, very nice. And this is something you will need to update times of years. If you have issues taking a little too long time to deploy in the WinPE upkeeper SUS, perhaps you need newer drivers. If you get the black screen of when you load deaf, black screen in this case, you need to update the ADK version. It's too old.
Okay.
So that's a new thing that's happening. Last year we have some customers that's just getting black screen, everything works in the background.
Great.
Yeah. But it's hard to debug. You find the issue why it's not working. We have our drivers. We have added BitLocker support. So when you reinstall operating, you can activate the BitLocker under operating system deployment. We don't activate Windows. We have set up complete this for Intune right now, but perhaps a little later. Not cool. upKeeper folder. Here, if you download new upKeeper SUS files, just copy and paste that and replace the files. And you are done, almost. But there are some configuration we have. Things you need to know. This ID, this value, this will be the folder name that upKeeper SUS will look for in your distribution point. If this is missing, you will get an error. So make sure this folder exists and have the upKeeper service OS there. Show computer information, this is new settings. Earlier we had to go to the debug mode to access this information in the right corner, so we can see the IP address and computer name, is this running in UEFI and so on. You want to activate it, add this key and value true. Endpoint is new if you're running Windows 8.1 in old upKeeper SUS or have configured to upKeeper SUS to communicate to upkeep application service. This was another endpoint. It looks different. Now we are using upKeeper client API for communication from upKeeper SUS, and it should be the address to that server, to that bindings for the website. Background, if you want to change to another color, and if you want to ignore, sometimes if you are deploying not in premise and you want to be able to redeploy the operating system, you perhaps need to activate this key and make it true, so it will continue if it can't access SMB share. Passphrase. If you have more than one organization, you need to, if you only have one organization, you can add the passphrase for that organization. So you will not be prompted for the passphrase when you are trying to new machine that is unknown for upKeeper. And unknown is when MAC address is not known and the UEID is known. Then you will get this prompt passphrase. If you add the passphrase in upKeeper source, you will not get this pop-up drop-down list. Choose what upKeeper object will be assigned.
Great. I think we have done the first part of this session. We have gone through the creation and maintaining. We have looked a little bit on the configuration. I think we should go back to that. So let's move to the second part of this session. So we are back. We talked about creating and maintaining. We talked a little about the configuration. We should go on and talk about the organization configuration. We configure a lot of stuff in the web interface as well. Can you show us something about that?
Yeah. So in the organization, you have some configuration for upKeeper. You have some disk. This is new for some of our customers where we have added, so you don't need in the hardware profile added UEFI settings for this configuration. We have added UEFI and we have legacy support, right? And on the left you have UEFI. If here can be some settings you perhaps will change. So change the default size on the service partition or on the C drive. One thing you need to know if you have a machine with a lot of RAM, you need to make sure that you have at least 20 gig for Windows 10 64 and 1.5 times the RAM. So can be good to change it so we have at least 50 gig of C disk. upKeep will expand that, so we'll use all the disk, but under Windows setup, just don't have that disk size that you have added. This. We have mentioned passphrase. That's something you had. If you want to just working with one organization, you have a passphrase to access it. You can add this passphrase service OS. So you have that on. Don't need to passphrase for that. Did I miss something?
No, I think you covered it. The parts that I thought about. So that's great. I think we have covered the settings part, and I think we have covered the organization settings as well. That's great. So let's go and look at how to use this stuff. Go back to the service operating system and discuss what do we have to put into the interface to be able to join a new computer to our upKeeper environment.
Yeah, that's good. If we want to install a new machine, in this case we have a machine added. We create a machine. We don't know our MAC address and our UEID. And we have added, so we have perhaps some groups that should be in all computers, and we have some application, and we just add those application and groups and tasks that this machine needs. We will choose our hardware profile. In this case, it's a virtual machine, Dell or HPM or Siemens or IBM. Choose our platform, and we will add. So we mark this machine for reinstall scratch. Different with these two, reinstall, we just working with a C drive, and reinstall scratch will remove all the partition that is the disk ID, and it's 0. Save, and then we have passphrase is demo1. And when we PXE boot the machine, we will here will be prompt for passphrase. Just add one. Of course, get an error. Choose demo.
So you're trying to reboot a computer,
Yeah.
so it will take a little bit of time. We have actually a question. I think we will take that on the fly. Show computer information. What does it change? What can we expect from that setting? What more information do we get?
Yeah. The information we get in this case when we have added activated settings, we get the computer name, we get an IP address, MAC address, and UI and architecture, and if UEFI is true or false, we're running in legacy or in UEFI. That's the information we get.
Yeah, perfect. I think that answered the question.
Okay.
So we have booted a computer. Just waiting for we are waiting for booting the computer. It's taking some time. Always. So the operating system, the SUS operating system we are looking at now, is actually 4.6, right?
Yeah.
We will release a new version, 4.7, in the 22nd of April. We won't tell you anything about it right now, but it will have some new features, actually. Some great features, as always. We have the computer up and running. Get a error. Great. Live demos, we like them.
We just finished that one. And
let's go on.
Yeah. And so it is. You choose your add your passphrase, and you will be able to choose what computer object will be added to this machine. And after that, it just will install and everything perfectly. Not now.
Not this time. Not when you're trying to...
But sometimes. Should we go to troubleshooting?
Well, I think we have covered how to use the SUS and the two scenarios where you have unknown clients, where you use the passphrase, where you connect them to an object created in UpKeeper, and we have talked about when you have actually a object that has MAC address or UID registered, it will find itself. So that we have covered. So I think we are set for this. We have ended the part how to use. So we are back again, and this part we will talk about the troubleshooting, the great stuff. That's what we like. So where shall we start?
Yeah, there are some. I know we have some issues sometimes, and we have problems with the network and the disk, or it's a problem with copied image file, or accessing the distribution point, or disk part, or BCD configuration. To start, you just access the debug mode in UpKeeper SUS. You will get a CMD prompt.
Yeah.
And the first thing will be you will see if you get an IP address. If you don't have an IP address, you need to update UpKeeper SUS with the new drivers. What we can do is just see if we have a C drive. Like if you have something there, then we have support for the disk. If you don't be able to access the C drive, I will start and see if I can access the disk 0.
And disk part is a part of the service operating system.
Yes.
So you can use it. the Windows part, actually.
And so this looks fine. But if you have problem with the driver for the disk, you will not access this and you can't see the partition you have created. Fine. The next thing, we'll see if we have a log file. And we have our syslog.txt. We can see everything that's happening. I start always in end and work up to see what was the latest. This is running in debug mode. Most customers are running this info mode, so you don't get so much output for a log file. But in this case, I had added, so we have debug, so we can see what's happening. We can create another 10 file. We can see have some disk configuration as added, and we can add distribution point and validate the Windows image we have. So to start, we have lots of information. Take a look at this workflow. Now debug info debug. If we can find anywhere that we have an error, start there. Take a look.
So would you recommend customers to have the debug mode, or should they go in info mode? Or
you should have two WinP added in the Windows deployment. That one is not visible at only when you activate it.
Okay.
It's a hide mode.
Yeah.
Disable. And if you have trouble to deploy one machine, you just activate it and fix it so you get the debug mode. As a standard, you should not have debug logging, for you have lots of information and you will have all the passwords here in this log file. You're always running with upKeeper source that have bug settings level. Remember to delete it when the deployment is done.
Great.
So just work up and find where we have the problem. One other thing that we have can be some issues sometimes. We get an IP, we have our ID, a MAC address, but we will not get any computer name. Then you perhaps have some problem to have application to the upKeeper client API.
Can you see if you have a problem with the client API? How should you troubleshoot that kind of scenario?
The thing is, where we have, if we we have our address to the upKeeper API. Just copy that and address. See if we have some S issue, firewall issue. So that can be one way to see.
Great.
This can also be a good test to see if you get the right store. Just run edit and it will list Windows 10. It will be loaded, and when we have our upKeeper service OS next, and we can see this default. So when we reboot this machine, it will be Windows 10.
So is there any, if you have a problem with the service operating system, is there any way to troubleshoot from the server side? There's something on the server side where we can see that we have computers that has some kind of problem.
Yeah, a little we can see. The machine we have there.
You're going to the log files on the server side for that specific computer, yes.
In this case, we have reinstall this machine.
Yeah.
And we are entering installation mode. We can see it to try to access find a distribution point, and you can find it in local, applying with 0. Here perhaps will be the first thing to see how fast does it go. Take about 5 minutes to unpack the local Windows image that's your service partition. This goes on 2 seconds. You provide something with the Windows image that are stored in the machine. Try to test it one more time with reinstall with scratch instead of all install. We have some copying some files and adding, so you will give some information here. If you have problem to access the distribution point, you will see here didn't map a distribution point. If you don't get anything here when you try, then you have issue with communication to UpKeeper client API.
Yeah.
And we can see what. So you will get some information here if you have some problem. And error codes, some of them.
Yeah, great to get some troubleshooting information, so to say. So I think that's conclude the troubleshooting part. So we come to the final part of this session, and that's actually the Q&A part. We have a few questions, and we have answered them that we have got. So I think that wraps everything up more or less. Thank you for joining us this day. Thank you, Roger, for joining me and helping me to explain how it works and how you can troubleshoot and configure and so on. And remember, work less, manage more. Bye.